Hare Krishna. So we'll continue our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, Chapter 3. The title of the chapter is The Pure Devotion Service, the Change in Heart. Okay. So basically, until the previous session, we were discussing the conversation between Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. So Sukadev, when Parikshit Maharaj asked what is the duty of a dying person, means what is the duty of a person who is about to die, then Sukadeva Goswami might have all straightforward said that okay, you just take the shelter of Supreme Lord Krishna and then you'll attain the perfection. But keeping in the mind the assembled uh, personalities, there are a lot of sages that are sitting around the conversation of Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Among them, there were some demigod worshippers. Among them, there were Ashtanga yogis. Among them, there were some jnanis. So Sukadeva Goswami thought of it is the duty of it. Then it will become the duty of a person sitting on the Vyasasan to address each and every person in the assembly. So in order to give them message also, he first started with saying how how one should worship on the Paramatma form of the Lord, means how one should purify one's existence, performing the Ashtanga Yoga process, um, Yoga Ruda and Yoga Ruruksha path, and then how he also explains how a yogi who Ashtanga yogi who in Kramamukti process will attain the perfection of liberation, impersonal liberation. And after explaining that, Shukadeva Goswami says that is the indirect path. The direct path is you just take the shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead and you will attain the perfection. And after explaining that, then some of the assembled persons have there may be some demigod worshippers of goddess Kali or worshippers of Lord Shiva uh, or devotees of Brahmaji or any demigod worshipper like Indra, Chandra like that. So in order to address them also, then Sukadeva Goswami again explains about first he explains about the demigod worship. Mm. He first explains about how the demigod worship was carried on, and he compared the demigod worship versus pure devotional service. And then uh, he actually then he states that the demigod worship is taken by the less intelligent persons, and also how the worship of supreme personality of Godhead, even though it may take little time, but worship of supreme personality of Godhead is the ultimate. And then later on, the sages of Naimisharanya they question about further inquiries of Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami. So in this word, that is the main topic: the comparison of worship of demigods and also a person who doesn't engage in. Then when it comes to Sukadeva Goswami and Shaunaka Rishis, then the sages of Naimisharanya they come to realization that the Lord Hari's the discussion of Lord Harikatha is the essence. Harikatha is the most important thing. Then they will express their realizations. So that is this chapter. So this chapter deals with comparison or demigod worship versus worship of supreme personality of Godhead, and how the worship of how bhakti to Krishna is the best of all processes, and also and the realizations of the sages of Naimisharanya, how they compare the materialistic person to animalistic way of life. Okay, so moving into the chapter, so Sukadeva Goswami wanted to speak about demigod worshippers assembled there. Okay, he wanted to address them. Mm. So basically, Srimad Bhagavatam is given for the intelligent people. Mm. So, but even though Srimad Bhagavatam is Paramahamsa Samhita, it speaks of pure philosophy of pure devotion service, but it still needs the guidance from a bona fide spiritual master. So, bona fide spiritual master will explain to the disciple the how to realize oneself, how to identify oneself, the existence of the soul. He will give the knowledge of existence of the soul, and he explains about the presence of super soul, mm, and then he gradually brings him back to the path of bhakti, full surrender to Krishna. So, but if you take the presence of super soul can be even uh, realized by the Ashtanga yogis, who are, even though they are not, the process of Ashtanga yoga is the indirect process of bhakti. It's purifying one's existence. And Ashtanga yogi, after performing meditation and tapasya for many, many years, he will come to the realization that he is not this body, he is a spirit soul. But for a devotee, for a disciple, when one surrenders to the spiritual master on the first day itself says that you are not this body, you are a spirit soul. So he will be saving lot of time and energy, mm, in his spiritual life, for his spiritual advancement. So super soul can even be inferred by Anumana Praman, means uh, just like Anumana Praman means by inference. mm, just like if heat and light is coming, means there is a fire. Heat and light refers to some fire element. So in the same way, the effects of subconscious memory, and also the intelligence, and also presence of super soul can be realize or come to the conclusion, concluded that by inference. And in this chapter, the demigod worship, Shukadeva Goswami, he actually starts with that process of Ashtanga Yoga, how Ashtanga Yogi can realize the super soul, and then he moves to the demigod worship. And he says that the demigod worship in itself is not condemned in this chapter, because if you see, uh, like demigod worship is not at fault, but the mentality of the material motives of the person who worships the demigods is considered as less intelligent. Why? Because the material motives are not any material benefit that he gets from a demigods is not going to be permanent. And but the same amount of bhakti, if he does for the supreme personality of Godhead, he is going to attain the lasting peace. Anything achieved, anything given by the Krishna is permanent, and it is eternal. Just like if Krishna takes us home back to Godhead, then we are going to have a eternal life. We are going to be, eternally situated. We will never come back again to this material world. And also, if you take any of the pastimes, like just like Dhruva Maharaj pastime, Dhruva Maharaj actually he went to do tapasya for the supreme personality of Godhead to obtain the wealth greater than that of his grandfather, Lord Brahma. So after when he performs severe austerities and he gets the darshan of Lord Vishnu, and then as soon as he gets the darshan of Lord Vishnu, he gets the realization that the my material desires are very insignificant when compared to what Lord Krishna can give. So he then again mm, uh, actually confesses in front of Krishna that he is out of ignorance. He came to Krishna asking for material benediction, and those are like broken pieces of glass, and how he found a rare diamond, the darshan of Krishna himself. So, but still, the Supreme Personality of Godhead give him the kingdom which is greater than his grandfather. He gives earthly rule for about 36,000 years, and then after his earthly rule is done, Dhruva Maharaj was made the king of Dhruva Lok, which is eternal kingdom. That Dhruva Lok is destroyed as long as the is not destroyed, even though other planets are destroyed in this material world. So such is the benedictions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any benediction that comes from Krishna is eternal. But if you take any benediction from other demigods, like for example, Ravana did lot of tapasya for Shiva and he got some benedictions. He also got some benedictions from Brahmaji, something like that. But their benedictions are until appearance of Lord Ram, and Ravana was killed by Ram, and all his benedictions are washed off. So in the case of Hiranyakashipu also, Hiranyakashipu performed so severe austerities, very severe austerities. Like his tapasya was so intense that it was actually affecting entire the heavenly planets and upper planetary system. Mm. So, and he performed such a great tapasya only to be killed by the Lord Narasimha. So that is the temporary nature of any benediction given by the demigods. So of course the demigods, when compared to Lord Hari, they can give faster results. Now, for suppose if somebody worships Ganapati or Vinayaka, they may get certain benefit. Sai Baba, they may get certain benefit. Lord Shiva, they may get certain benefit. They may get early benefit, but those are they will take one away from bhakti process. They will take one away from their eternal blissful position. The benediction that are received, the any material benedictions from the demigods will delay their spiritual progress to their eternal life. So that's why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says demigods worshippers are less intelligence. Antavantu phalam tesham tad tadbhavatya alpamedasa. So he's saying the demigod worshippers, the results given by the demigod worshipper are temporary. And only a very less intelligent person will worship demigods. So now Sukadeva Goswami here, he starts giving the worship of demigods. No? Here in the verses from 2 to 9, he says how different demigods for different benedictions. Generally, people in general worship different demigods. So here, uh, when like for he says here, absorption in the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, one has to worship Lord Brahma. Mm. One for powerful sex, one has to worship Lord Indra. For good progeny, one has to worship Prajapati Daksha. Good fortune, Durga Devi, and power Agni, like that. So it's a list of uh, no, uh, demigods. Generally, what people in general worship. Mm. So it doesn't mean that in order to get these benedictions, one has to worship this demigod only. For example, for the good fortune it is listed, one should worship Durga Devi. So it doesn't mean that for attaining good fortune, one has to only worship Durga Devi. It is general practice. That is a prescription of the scriptures. Means like they generally do that. So, but the same benedictions, like if somebody has some material motives, no, if somebody has some material desires, like I want to get a lot of wealth, I want to be fame, I want to name fame, uh, a good wife or husband, like that. If anybody has any material benedictions, material desires, then they can, even with those material desires, they can worship the supreme personality of Godhead. Mm. So, but the thing is, worshipping the supreme personality of Godhead with any material desires, the supreme personal, the Krishna, he will fulfill the supreme personality of Godhead. He will fulfill the material desires of the person, but also along with that, he will give his service, his mercy also, means his feet, his lotus feet. So his mercy is the superset of everything. Means for suppose like if somebody prays for, no, I want a good health. Okay, good, some demigods comes and gives us good health. With good health, what will you do? You need a good home and good life partner, and then good family, and then you have to worship another demigod, and you worship both demigods, and good family will come, and then you need material prosperity, so you worship another demigod. So this list goes on. So but if one approaches supreme personality of God Krishna, and if one worships him, then when one gets the mercy of Krishna, it will give everything that are needed. So Krishna gives all the material benedictions, uh, and then along with them he will give his mercy, and he will give the knowledge, and he will bring that person to the stage that these material benedictions are not of uh, ultimate importance. So Krishna gives the material benediction such that he so that the person will develop renunciation, develop detachment from the material enjoyment. Then he will give the material benediction. But he will take care of his devotees very nicely also. Krishna will take care of his devotees, and then he will give the material benediction. Such that even after getting material benediction, that person will be attached to Krishna and attain the ultimate perfection of his life, or going back to Godhead at the end of his lifetime, just like Dhruva Maharaj in the exam, in the case of Dhruva Maharaj happens. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturbija bhajanti mam janana sukrutino arjuna artho jignasur arthati jnanicha bharatarshava. So Krishna is saying four types of people come to me. They are artho, means somebody who is in distress, artharthi, who is in uh, who is a seeker of wealth, jignasu means who is inquisitive, and gnani. These are the four types of people who comes to me for any seeking any benediction. But Krishna calls them Mahatmas, or the very pious people. Why? Because if in material times, if you see somebody comes to a king and asks for charity, and if he king gives any charity, then in that case, king is most benevolent, king is most magnanimous. But here Krishna is saying, if a person comes to him and he takes any benediction from me, that person is more magnanimous, that person is Mahatma. Why? Because like a person who comes to Krishna will experience the love of Krishna. He will experience that the power of devotion, the bhakti of Krishna. Then for that person, his material needs are already fulfilled, and he will get the love of Krishna, which he feels like sharing with others. So from the stage of seeking material benefit, he will immediately put onto the stage of giving the knowledge of Krishna consciousness, the experience of Krishna prema to others. So that's how they become most magnanimous personalities. So that's why Krishna says that they are very magnanimous persons. Some acharyas also says that the person who goes to Krishna, they actually gives affection for Krishna. Means just like when a child goes to a father, seeking something, asking for something, father derives a great pleasure when a child approaches him with asking for something. So they give that such a pleasure to Krishna. That's why Krishna also called them as Mahatmas. Okay. So, but one should know that anything that is coming from the demigods is actually coming from Krishna himself. So Krishna initially in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the the persons who are in mode of goodness, they worship demigods. But it is in the case of some materialistic person, when he wants to fulfill his material desires, he when if he doesn't approach anyone, if he doesn't accepts any authority, and he goes on doing his own thing, either which is uh, either in a dharmic way or adharmic way, such a kind of person is more heinous, because he is not accepting any authority. But a person who for fulfilling his material desires, if he approaches an authority, he has a good tendency, he has a good inclination that after a certain period of time, he will come to understanding that any benediction received from the demigods is of no significance, and then he will take up the process of bhakti, which gives him the permanent results. But a person who doesn't approaches or accepts any authority, mm, he is not in the line, means he is not in the process of sanatana dharma. So, but still, one should not stop at the point of getting material benediction from demigods. He has to cross beyond that stage and approach Krishna, and until he has to take up to the path of bhakti. So when one takes the path of bhakti, in Sukadeva Goswami in the verse number 10, he says, Akama sarma kamova moksha kama udarati tivrena bhakti yogina yeta purusham param. He says that a person who has broader intelligence must worship the Lord with intense bhakti, whether he is akama means desireless, or sarvakama full of material desires, or moksha kama desire of liberation. It is said that the stage of akama is uh, the from akama to sarvakama to moksha kama. It is the increasing stages of impetus to get higher and higher happiness. So a person in the akama stage is his impetus to get uh, happiness and free from all miseries is lesser than compared to a person on sarvakama stage. Sarvakama means he has a lot of materials. Akama means he doesn't have any desires, and he can approach Krishna. And sarvakama, who has more material desires, he can approach Krishna. And also moksha kama means is the highest material benediction that anybody can desire for. Moksha kama means along with any material desire, any material happiness comes material miseries. But in the stage of moksha, he will only get the pleasures but not any miseries. It is free from all the materialistic anxieties. So, but in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Bhakti Mukti Sparshaya, he says, now I'm just reading the translation, not quoting the sloka. So, anybody, how can the happiness of bhakti arise in the heart when the witch of desire for enjoyment, liberation remains there? Means Rupa Goswami is saying that if in one's heart, if one has a desire for even enjoyment or even for impersonal liberation, then the happiness of pure bhakti will not arise in their heart. So the pure bhakti arises when only when there is what are the conditions that we discussed in previous sessions. Pure bhakti should be unmotivated, uninterrupted. Means there should be no motivations. Means there should be no material desires to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then it will give, then the pure bhakti will develop in one's heart. But at the same time, if a person has some material desires, it doesn't mean that he cannot perform any bhakti. So that's why this verse, it actually enlightens Bhagavad Dharma along with encouragement. It says, okay, your material desires will be fulfilled when even though if you have material desires, you can come to bhakti, and this process of bhakti will take care of both. It will fulfill your material desires, at the same time uh, it will it will cleanse your heart of all the material uh, no, desires, the propensities for material enjoyment, so that you will not have material desires in future. So that is the sweetness of bhakti process. So, but when one, even though if he has all the material desires, even though if he has some inclination for moksha, or even if he doesn't have any material desires, if one performs tivra bhakti, means intense devotion service, he will be immediately transcended all these uh, processes, and he will be put in the platform of pure devotional service, which will lead to the ultimate perfection of life. You are able to follow, right, Madaji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So, but one may ask, okay, if you are saying that if somebody has these material desires, and if he approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead and performs Tivara Bhakti, then he will transcend this conditioned stage, and then will attain the pure platform of pure devotional service. But will that apply to the demigods also? If somebody approaches demigod, and then if he performs Tivara Bhakti for the demigod, will he attain the pure bhakti? Hmm? Srimad Bhagavatam says that they cannot achieve the pure bhakti. Means if a person is struck with any demigod, for example, take the life of Karna. He has been worshipping Surya Dev from right from the beginning of his childhood. uh, and at the end of his life, even though if he even if he merges into the Surya Loka. Hmm? So the Krishna in the previous verse he stated that, right, how less intelligent people will approach the demigods. Hmm. In this verse, Bhagavad Gita 7.23, Krishna says the demigod worshipper will go to the planet of demigods, which is temporary in nature also. So, but anything material, any if there is any material thing, then it is called Kaitava Dharma, means it is cheating religion. But uh, mm, here Sukadeva Goswami himself is saying, even if you have material desires, you just engage in bhakti, it will take care of everything. Mm. Bhakti is the solution, and bhakti is the process, and bhakti is the goal. Bhakti is everything. So, but in any path, now if you take karma, jnana, ashtanga yoga, uh, or dhyana yoga, any path that for it to achieve success, there should be a tinge of bhakti. Mm? Means it needs to have the support from bhakti. But bhakti can stand alone. Means a bhakta can achieve perfection without taking any help from any other processes. Bhakti is fully independent, while other processes depend on the process of bhakti. Even if you see some yagnik Brahmins, if they perform any yagna, they have to first offer mantras, Om Pavitra Pavitra, that kind of mantras. Means at least invocation mantras should be offered towards Lord Vishnu. Then only that process will attain the perfection. Otherwise, it will not be, yeah, it will not achieve any perfection. Even in the case of Ashtanga yoga or karma yoga, unless that process takes the support of bhakti, it cannot succeed. But bhakti process, even without the support of any other method, can alone give the ultimate perfection. So the demigod worshippers cannot achieve the perfectional stage, even if they perform tivra bhakti. But only the devotees, when they perform tivra bhakti, they can transcend all the paths and then finally attain the ultimate perfection. So Sukadeva Goswami says, even jnanis take to bhakti. Then why don't the demigod worshippers? Hmm? Basically, the jnanis, they have the tendency of exploring too much. Hmm? So the jnana creates the indifference to the waves of material modes. Hmm? Means a jnani will realize that how the material modes are doesn't give any happiness at all. And he strives for self-satisfying, and this jnana is self-satisfying and free from all the attachments to the gunas, and transcendental and approved by the authorities. This process of jnana is transcendental and approved by the authorities. And the what is the ultimate thing that has to be achieved through jnana is the bhakti itself. So the jnana will lead to the bhakti. So after Sukadeva Goswami explained all these things, these same things are narrated by Suta Goswami to the sages of Naimisharanya. So, but you are understanding, right, how the conversation is going on. The Suta Goswami and the discussion is going on between Suta Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya, and they were discussing what Shukadev Goswami had said to Parikshit Maharaj. The story about Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. So now the sages of Naimisharanya, they actually questions the Suta Goswami. He says they were very much satisfied because they were performing this yajna for the for the for the benefit of people in the Kali Yuga. They were performing the sacrifice, 1,000 year sacrifice, and they were very much joyed because they were not confident about the results of their sacrifice, but when they heard how bhakti can lead to the ultimate perfection, they were joyful, and then they wanted to hear more and more about the discussion between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadev Goswami. Mm. So they asked this question, please please explain about further inquiries of Parikshit Maharaj. What did Parikshit Maharaj ask Shukadev Goswami? Uh, Basically, both of them are great devotees. Parikshit Maharaj is also a great devotee, and Shukadev Goswami is also a great devotee. But Parikshit Maharaj has taken the role of the disciple, and Shukadev Goswami has taken the role of the spiritual master. Mm. And Parikshit Maharaj has been a devotee from right from his childhood. In his womb, he saw in the womb of his mother, Parikshit Maharaj has seen Lord Krishna. And then after coming home, he was fully Krishna conscious. After coming out of the womb of his mother, he was fully Krishna conscious, and he was very keen at observing and also trying to see where he can find Krishna. And even in his childhood, he used to play with the dolls of Krishna. So what it means is he was totally Krishna conscious right from his childhood, right from uh, um, right starting from his mother's womb also. And Shukadev Goswami, he was also Krishna conscious. He heard Srimad Bhagavatam and also became a devotee of pure devotee. So and he is fully knowledgeable of the process and philosophy of bhakti. So and the sages of Naimisharana, then they started glorifying the process of bhakti. They say that one can make the best use of time only by the means of bhakti. So they quote this verse: Ayur harati vaipum sam udayan astan chayan nasau tasyarte yat kshanonita uttama shloka vartaya. Means anything, anything other than harikatha steals away one's life. Ayur harati vaipumsam. Udayan astan chayan naso means rising and setting of sun will take away one's lifespan. If he's not a devotee of Krishna. So one may say, okay, like yes, everybody with the passing of time they grow older and they become closer and closer to death. But that is true in the case of bhakti devotees also, right? How can you say that only this time will only takes up the lifespan of non-devotees? But Acharya says that definitely it doesn't make any difference for the devotees, because the devotees they become closer and closer to Krishna as the time passes, because uh, uh, and Krishna facilitated this the devotees also get disease, devotees also grow old, and devotees also dies. Mm. Why Krishna has what you call allowed this to come upon his devotees is he wants to maintain the confidentiality of the process of bhakti, and he doesn't want to break the rules of the nature. Mm. And also confidentiality is one factor, and mm, um, there are two more factors. I'm not able to recall that. So and devotees are like even they are as they approach the death, they are actually Prabhupada gives a nice example of death, right? Death is for a devotee is a great benediction for devotees, because it is bringing them closer. It is going to take them back to Krishna. Death is like a cat. So a cat is like a for a rat. Cat, the mouth of a cat is the death personified. Means it's the end of its life. But the mouth of the cat for a kitten is the safest place. So in the same way, death is like the Krishna is coming in the form of death is like a enemy for the non-devotees, and is a friend, is a father for devotees. Mm. So is the devotees can take the shelter of Krishna at any point of time, and then they can achieve perfection. But that's why with the passing of time, non-devotees become much closer and closer to the death, which is losing everything that what they have. But with the passing of time, devotees also become closer and closer to death, but the death is going to take them back to Krishna. So that's why they are not worried about the death. And the sages of Naimisharana, then they say that if a person is not engaged in the process of bhakti, mm, then they give the limb by limb description. mm, his ear holes, the ear holes of the non-devotee are like holes of snake if he is not listening to the prowess and the marvelous acts of the Lord. And his tongue is like tongue of a frog if he is not singing loudly worthy songs about the Lord. And the upper body means the head, which is decorated with turban, is only a heavy burden if it is not bowing down to the Lord who can award mukti. Okay, and hands, though with the glittering bangles, these are like dead man's hand if he is not engaged in the service of Lord Hari. And the eyes are like plumes of the peacock if it is not looking at the symbolic representations of the supreme personality of Godhead. And the legs are like tree trunks if he is not moving to the holy places. And the person is certainly a dead body if he is not receiving the dust of the feet of pure devotees on his head or experiencing the tulsi aroma of the Lord's feet. The heart is like steel framed if it is not transforming even after he having chanted the holy name of the Lord. So basically, the sages of Naimisharanya are actually paraphrasing the process of Krishna conscious way a devotee leads his life. Means they are highlighting that they are saying directly that one has to engage all his body and mind and all the energies in the service of Krishna. So when one engages that, then his entire existence becomes purified. It brings the auspiciousness uh, for his entire existence. That's how the sages of Naimisharanya glorifies the process of bhakti, and then uh, they further inquires the Sutta Goswami about that we'll discuss in the next session. What are the further inquiries of Sutta Goswami and sages of Naimisharanya? So if you have any questions or comments, or you can discuss here. Is it too fast?
No, Prabhuji.
Any questions, Mataji?
For now, we are good, Prabhuji. If you have any questions, we'll